Chasin the Racin, powered by Colchester Kawasaki. Part of the Global Moto Group, we supply new Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, Sim, Mutt and Benelli motorcycles.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin the Racin, episode 171. And it's just myself and Dom. We're having a quick catch up and been a busy old week. The way things are working at the moment, I'm never in the northeast, and Dom's for the last 10 days or whatever has been over in the Isle of Man. So it's although we haven't missed a consecutive week for about 130 weeks consecutively, it's getting harder and harder for the podcasting, but we're managing, we're doing it.
Don't take this the wrong way, but your mum's asking after you.
I know.
Now, I know if we didn't have your mum's practically my mum, so that sounded probably a little bit weird, but she is asking after you.
It'll be back to the COVID days when you moved in with us.
I know, I missed that. It was simpler times, Chrissy, simpler times, mate.
So we're gonna have a quick catch up. Obviously last few sort of BSB rounds, Dom's been over to the Manx, a little bit of a catch up, and then run through the Patreon questions. So we'll start off with so you've been over to the Manx for almost, was it a full week or 10 days or something?
It's a 9-day event now, but I tell you what makes me laugh, right? I've just thought of this. We're like an old married couple, and what I mean by that is, before we started this, obviously we've had I think it's a fair comment to say, Chrissy, that we've had a shit string of bad luck a little bit, especially over the last couple of meetings, and we've been setting everything up, and we've just been running round, and we're like, you alright mate? Yeah, down. The second we hit play, we're like, hey, how we doing? It's like a couple have an argument, and they're at the front door going, will you just shut the door? And, hi guys, everything's grand, everything's happy. We're fake, Chris. Fake it till you make it. Simple as that, son.
We'll probably get onto it later, but we've actually been out in the middle of nowhere today. My starts have been dog shit this year, and so just
I haven't actually I've never actually highlighted that situation. What brought you onto thinking this shit? It's literally just you on the
It's not hard. Every time the lights go out, the whole row behind overtakes us. So
shut up, man.
It's weird though, because it went from being my massive strength last year. No matter where I was on the grid in Superstock, I used to make at least 3 or 4 positions every start. Sometimes, on 2 or 3 occasions, I got the whole shot from the 3rd row of the grid. So my starts were very, very strong last year. But obviously we've changed manufacturer. We're going from Kawasaki to BMW, and also the fact from Superstock to Superbike. So Superstock, you've got full launch control, and you can kind of work with the electronics. And obviously just different manufacturers that have a different feel. So yeah, just spent a big shout out to the lads for giving up more or less a full day on a Saturday, and we just hammered starts all day and looking at different things. Simon, my electronics guy, was taking power out and just having a little play around, and we definitely made some progress.
I had one crack at it for our listeners, by the way, one crack, and obviously there's Chrissy. Whatever you tell to you listeners, do not tell Gabriel, who owns a motorcycle. Chrissy's fancy a go, and I'm like, I actually, I thought about it for a couple of seconds. I thought, I don't want to ruin my mate's chance by roofing his BMW Superbike, and that was short-lived, very, very small.
What did you? Because is that the first time you've been on a bike with no electronics?
Big bike-wise, yeah. Obviously, that's where we used to with 600s and anything on the lower side. There's normally no electronics, but even the stock 1000 that I bought with my mate. It's there's always fail-safes in electronics. You think you turn it off. Now, what's so sophisticated, and we've talked about it on pods from hundreds, literally probably 100 episodes ago, and the advantages and disadvantages of that, but you can't fully turn them off. And that's come very apparent after riding your bike, in a straight line. When you tap the throttle fully open, there is a little bit of fail-safe on mine. It doesn't fully just rear up. You are covering the back brake. Whose lane was that, by the way? By the way, for legal reasons, if we weren't just on the back streets of middle of nowhere in the middle of Lincoln, you better give him a shout out, actually. Where the hell were we?
It was a friend of a friend, so I'm not too sure. Aaron sorted it, so big shout out to him. But yeah, what you're saying is for people that maybe have road bikes or that have not been on a super bike, you launching and you're on the clutch and you basically just hovering the front wheel. The bike wants to flip. Obviously, it's got that much power, turning the rear wheel wheel which wants to sort of pivot on the rear wheel and go over. So you're trying to get all the weight on the front, holding it with the clutch. Some people use back brake, some people feather the throttle. But even like seconds, you get up to 120, 130 mile an hour and you think, right, go full throttle. And then the thing still's just wanting to flip. So you're just on it the whole time. It's mad how much power they've got.
You see, for like when I'm racing bikes, I've got a thumb brake on all of my bikes because I've never used my right foot, and I smashed it when I was on a BMX, and I haven't got full range in my ankle.
Aye.
And when I got on a bike at like 21, I was like, pfft. Well, put it this way, this is how my dad described it. My dad doesn't swear or nothing, but it was it'll definitely stick in your mind after you've heard this one. I said, Dad, are you using the back brake? And he goes, son, they're like nipples on men. They're just for show. You don't use them. I'm like, that's kind of engraved in my mind. And I've never used a back brake to that point until I first got on a big bike and I started murdering a thumb brake, absolutely murdering. And I started the down, so 600, and even on the twin I use a thumb brake.
Aye.
Now, even that one shot I had going up the lane and back, I can totally understand why all you lads, well, you don't actually, use a scooter brake. Because a thumb brake, actually, you take a lot of pressure to get it. You're normally priming the thing rather than stopping it. But if you had that force, like a thumb brake, like pressure that you can apply to the rear, I can totally see why. Because when I got on yours, like I was saying prior, it's like even when you fully whack the throttle open, there is a natural failsafe within the ECU. It rears up, but yours, it was just and you literally tap the throttle and the thing is on its back wheel, and you're like, holy crap.
I've actually tried a scooter brake and a thumb brake, and both times I couldn't generate enough power through the handlebars to go full throttle and keep the front wheel down.
Yeah.
So earlier in the season I had a scooter brake, and pulling it right back to the lever, we had it bled up. It's as good as we could get that scooter brake, but around say Oulton Park you can't go full throttle over the crests and just hold it on the thing. It still wanted to wheelie, so therefore then you're feathering the throttle and it gets a little bit jumbled, where with a foot brake you can hold it as soon as the rear comes up, you can go full throttle and hold it down on the back brake, which is what I do. So
were you the same on a 600?
It hasn't got anywhere near the power.
No. I know the power element, but at the end of the day, you're still putting 130-40 brake horsepower down.
Do you know, it's that long ago. I haven't raced it since 2015. It's like 7 years ago. But yeah, I can't really remember. I will have used it occasionally, but it's a different ball game on 1,000, especially when you've got no electronics as well. There's a big difference from Superstock to Superbike with that.
I couldn't agree more with that. That was, like I say, I never actually got to have a go. Like when I rode the Burrows Superbike at the Northwest, it was a hybrid stocker. You know, that's not like, you know, it had the swinging arm, it had everything, but because you can run world rules at Northwest and TT, you can run electronics. That thing was quick, my God, it was quick, but it wasn't as, with no like proper full whiskey, like on that thing was just, I couldn't believe it. Like, don't get me wrong, I was in my shorts and my t-shirt, which you shouldn't do, kids. But I wasn't missing that opportunity, I'm telling you that much. But yeah. Go on then. So you were how was Simon doing it? You don't have to give us exact figures on air, but you did narrow down the times, don't you? So you were aiming between.
Well, a little bit of it was getting comfortable. On 1,000, I think anything less than 3 seconds, 0 to 60's a good start. So that's kind of what we're aiming for. And so far this year, my start, like I say, my starts have been really, really poor. Sometimes I've been doing race starts at like 3.4, 3.5, which is shit.
By the way, my first time I did a 3.5. Just put that
3.7 you did.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah. But yeah, I've so yeah, just trying to keep the front wheel on the ground. That's the main thing. So just doing little bits and bobs on the Superbike. So whatever you ask so the twist grip, so like the throttle, whatever percentage you ask for that, you can alter it on the laptop to not give you exactly what you ask for. So if you want it, you could have it so it's a 1-to-1 throttle. And often people on the podcast talk about 1-to-1, meaning like if you turn it 50%, the butterflies will open 50%, turn it 70%, the butterflies open. So it's whatever that you ask for, the bike does. But for example, if that's too much, you can say for every, when you get to 50%, the butterflies only open 40%. With the split throttle, you can have it so that one side of the engine will open to 50%, but the other engine might only open to 30%, and that sort of thing. So that's the type of things that people are playing around with.
So there is like, that there is actually like an advantage in BSB for that electronic element involving that.
Huge, yeah, huge.
And that's where the game is played, really, would you say?
Well, yeah, there's lots of games being played, but that is definitely something. Because off the start, so we've all year I've never had. So if I go 100% in first gear, up to this point in the year, we've had it going to 90%. So like when I ask for 100%, the most of the butterflies will open is to 90%, and even then it's got that much power that it just wants to send you. You would have to be on the back brake hard to try and keep the front down. So we're just playing around with different percentages, and we tried it so no matter what, the throttles could only open 60%, and it meant that made a bit of a jump, and then just sort of playing around with the numbers, and it made a little bit of progress. I'm not saying well what's the expression, like the proof will be in the pudding, it's snedding. If I get another howler, then it's been a waste of time, but hopefully I'll be at least holding my own, and therefore it'll be, do you know, when you think about all the money you put into qualifying to get like half a metre in the grid, and then you could be giving away or gaining precious time. So yeah, hopefully we'll make a little bit of a step.
I tell you what, obviously like Knock Hill will be the steepest track to start on, but like Snetterton's not as flat as it looks.
Snetterton's uphill.
It's an uphill start. So where would be the? Oh, there's a question for the pub quizzes out there. Where would the flattest track be then to start?
Off the start, Cadwell's pretty flat.
Croft would have been perfect. But if it's not on the calendar.
Silverstone.
There's a few then.
Donington's sort of downhill a little bit. Brands Hatch is a funny one. It depends where you are. It goes like across the track, so you can be going downhill or you can be going uphill depending on where you are on the grid. But it's like bit of a funny shape. But on from that. Where we started the Manx, so
yes.
Over there for what's now called the Manx Grand Prix. It was Classic and Manx, but then the Classic TT's no longer a sort of a name anymore. It's sort of a bit of politics changed around. We did actually do 2 podcasts just before the Manx Grand Prix started on it was like the Friday or the Saturday or whatever. But then since then, obviously, you've had a full week of racing. Just run through sort of classes you were in, and sort of the story of the week, if you like. Yeah,
so it's I tell you what, it's mad. Time flies by and you forget that, like, even all the notes I've made. It was a case of, we were lucky with the weather and then we were unlucky. We only had 2, I'm going to get strung alive when I get this wrong. I think we had 2 cancellations. One day got totally knocked on the head and we had to use one of the contingency plans on the Wednesday. I'm really sorry if I'm getting this wrong. Either way, we had a contingency plan day, and they actually had to swap the sessions round to try and equal out the laps. So the big bikes were always going out first, and then they were chucking out the little bikes, and then a couple, like that one day, they swapped everything round just to try and balance everything up. So like certain riders were actually there on one bike. Me, I was lucky enough to be on 3 bikes. So I was on the Davies 500 Yamaha, I was on the John Chapman 250, and I was on the Bob Henderson 750. But people like James Hind, I feel like I'm going to skip a whole of practice. I'll tell you what, we'll talk about James Hind. In this practice week, obviously put it on Paul on everything. The Ian Locker bikes will, Lay low bikes. They're a team that don't do anything else but the now Manx Grand Prix. And that's a huge commitment when you think about they're putting 3 bikes out and 3 lads on those bikes every year. And the consistency that they can have on them. You're thinking, normally, bikes like that, you have to run all the time and keep them out there, keep them fresh, and no, not at all. I tell you what, that was one thing. Even talking about like Mr. Hind. Mr. Hind just cleared off. He knows that bike like the back of his hand, and he just kept going and going and going. And like the first night I got on it, I only got 1 lap, and we were bedding in pistons at 9 grand. It was as flat as a witch's tit. I've never ridden a more difficult bike without power. If you know. Did not want to turn, for this thing that's factory built by Honda. You think, what a pile of crap. I didn't want to be on it. It felt that poor without any power. And then the next night, I think we qualified, we did 100 mile an hour speed, just bedding in the pistons. And then the following night, we got another lap on it. And then we did 110 on that after like a little bit more on the RPM. And then we were straight into the racing. So we only got the 2 laps on it. And then, like Mr. Hind, he was going out and banging in lap speed. Same with Locker and same with the whole grid. But the problem with that grid is it's getting smaller. you know, we'll put it this way, when the race started, I was off at number 1, Locker was number 2, and then there was no one. I think actually Sweeney just got a lap in to qualify, and I think he went off at number 4. But leading up to that, I think number 9 was down the road after that. And you're thinking the depreciation in that grid, I think there was only 40 starters, but I think only 25, there was 40 who got to make the grid. I'm saying not the make the grid. There was 40 on the entry, and then only like 20 odd got to the race.
Is that from bikes like breaking through practice week, or
exactly? So it's like, the thing is, because they're not making them anymore, they're beautiful bikes, and the 2-stroke era needs to carry on. But same with the Irish scene, you know, in road racing, it's the 2-strokes. You know, they had the full grid, and then it got a little bit smaller, then they got changed to a different class, and now there's just no one running them, solely because of the parts element.
I'm sorry, I'm so surprised at that, because not that long ago, they might even still run it. The 250 race at North Gloucester, it's like a British Championship still, and well, it was years since I've been there, but the last time I was there was like a full grid of them. So
yeah,
I'm not sure if
the grid's strong at the NG, but that's what like Chris Moore, he was obviously on the 250 as well. He did a cracking run. He was also on the RC Express Super Twin, which he did a fantastic job in the junior race on that. But he does that grid and does that full championship. It's the same as James Hind. But like you say, the grids are strong, but not many of them go road racing. You know what I mean? They're like short circuit specialists, but trying to get a hold of pistons, barrels, parts, it's a nightmare. Everything's getting re-nickeled, and it's like Trigger's broom almost in a certain fashion. There's not many genuine parts left, and no one's manufacturing them to get them going, which is a damn shame.
Just a bit of a side story, but speaking of Trigger's broom, I actually went down to see Only Fools and Horses at the West End in London a few weeks ago, and it was absolutely amazing. Like, if anyone is in London over the next, I don't know how long it's on for, but it was unbelievably funny and just like really well written. John Sullivan, who wrote Only Fools and Horses, it's actually his son that's made the musical, and it's the likeness of the characters to like the real characters. It's witty, funny, brilliant, really 5-star recommendations if anyone is in London.
Is that only in London then? Are they not taking the show on tour?
I don't know about that, but I don't know. They just they like recycle things at the West End, don't they? There'll be like Matilda and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and it's always the same sort of stuff. But
so cultured, Chrissy had no idea. So cultured there.
But back to Manx. I seen, speaking of RC Express, I presume he's still riding for them, but Rob Hodson. Seen Rob Hodson took the win on the big bike.
Outstanding. You know, so even in qualifying, so he was on the green all bike. They had 3 riders. Had Nathan Harrison, Brian McCormick, and Rob himself. And Rob's done a lot of work with them in the past.
Good eye.
And he's done a lot of not the Gold Cup, Scarborough. He's done all the Scarborough rounds with them. You know, he's got a good strong foundation in that team, and that it's obviously shown.
Yeah. Also, it was really great to see Dave O'Johnson back after obviously missing the TT.
Pelvis. Yeah.
And it was really nice to see him. I know. I presume he would have been a bit nervous because obviously over the COVID years, like missed all them years, and then missed the TT this year. But he was straight back on it in a podium as well.
Yeah, definitely. I tell you what, though, my heart bleeds for Craig Neve. Absolutely bleeds for him and Rob for the first 2 laps were battling it out. So like they were just constantly swapping places. I tell you what, mate. Like you know, Rob's time, he was doing just shy of 26s. That's his fastest time on a big bike.
Wow, that's insane, isn't it?
You know what I mean? Like the proper genuine superbike, you know, they were built in 1993 or 92 is the cutoff. So for that model, because it brought the 95s in for that class. There's so much politics in this race.
It must be like really, obviously really good to win that class and do such an amazing lap time on that bike. But it must be so frustrating when you get like a much better bike, like a modern bike with like much better forks, better engine, better wheels, better this, better that, and like you're faster on the. What was it, a 95 bike?
No, 92 bike.
92 bike. I was born in 95.
There we are then.
So
Rob can absolutely handle the living crap out of that thing. But like I say,
I know tyres have moved on since then, but what was at the TT in say 92? What was like the fastest ever lap?
Jesus, I think Moody was going round at 26s, 27s
on that sort of bike.
Aye, but you see, arguably like, you can bore them out now. So like I say, what you can do is so you can get them over to 800s now.
Right.
Different compressions, different plates, there's a lot of flex with what you can do. Arguably, the bikes are shit ton better now.
Right.
Because you can put full Orleans front ends in. You can get the most recent K-Tech. You can get the most recent Max, whatever. You can get your other shocks are available.
Obviously, Bob Henderson's just built you that bike for this year, and I tell you what, it looked absolutely stunning, like the retro colours, and I was really, really impressed. Was that competitive? The bike was a
definitely. No, the bike was absolutely fantastic. I'm still get the violin out, but my injuries it's got a lot to do with this. But the bike was absolutely fantastic. But like even then, you could put different like Dimag wheels in. Like Bob actually put Gen 3 BMW wheels in.
Right.
Like the magnesium lightweight jobs. Custom spacers. Absolutely, like the bike is class. It was a little bit down on the straight lines, but when we went out, we had no data. Like we started off on a 1741, but they've got different gearboxes. You can run any gearbox you want. And we were basing it off what they like close ratios. We had a standard gearbox, so we ended up on 1643. And even then, we were like smashing out the pattern. We were making spaces. Bob Henderson and the lads like did not stop.
What lap speed?
That's Martin and Sex Wax.
What lap speed did you get to on that?
What did I get? I think the first night I did a 117, and then that was my only like flying lap. Then after that, we were just chiseling in times and we were swapping bikes from there. So I think I did a one. What did I do? Just shy of a 23. But the worst thing, like when the race got started, basically, it was mad. We had another. I feel like we should go to the beginning of it.
Yeah, go on.
It's so it's like practice week went well, and for everyone, obviously we must give Paul Boasty a shout out. The poor lad, the engine seized on him going into Union Mills. So where you were watching at Snugbury, you got the flat out left. So where he's knocked the throttle off, because obviously I'm a two-stroke expert these days, and so I'm trying not to cut in on myself. There's so many things I want to say, but like Paul Boasty knocked the throttle off and the thing seized and he's crashed on the way in. Absolutely obliterated the bike. But I'm trying to remember the list of injuries the poor fella had.
Yeah, I rang him up actually yesterday.
How was he doing?
Yeah, catch up on him. He's doing all right. Yeah, he said it's like a back protector, like a back brace sort of thing.
Right.
And discharged him from the Isle of Man. I think it was today actually, and he's got to go and see a back specialist in Liverpool. But
shit, because it was 2 vertebrae, punctured lung.
Yes.
Leg.
Yeah, because he couldn't fly for like 6 weeks because of the lung thing. But yeah, he's smashed himself up, good and proper. But he's in good spirits, and we're sending all of our best wishes to 100%. Him. So we'll, look forward to a good catch up with him soon.
I'll tell you what, without being, I'm gonna have to be very careful how I say this, but ever since I've been going, like with my dad, from a very, very, very young age, like I've never been to the Isle of Man and been at an event where no one has lost their lives to the sport. Incredible that we've turned up at the Manx this year, and Boasty, God love him, and another fellow, same place, James Ford, he came off at Union Mills, but they're both all right, and you think fair bloody play, and
that's
a hell of a statistic when you think about it, isn't it?
In a few ways, really, the fact that. I mean, how many years have you been to the TT, including going to watch your dad?
That's what I mean. It's mental. I tell you what was mad. It was I think there was only one road closure on the mountain as well. Because like at the TT, they have like they only shut it one way, so it's easier to confine. But at the Manx, they open it up both ways. No, I think there was one closure, and I think that was a car. Don't hold me to that, but the one closure throughout the whole thing, and you think that just keeps the island flowing. It was up, and you just think, wow, absolutely fantastic. It's definitely a quieter. The paddock in itself was, I'm going to be blunt, it was really, really quiet. You know what I mean? And just people don't like change by default. I think it was like 6 years when the classic TT got introduced to the Manx, and that's where the segregation started. But now it's all going under one roof. They've actually lowered the entry numbers, and it was easier to control on track. And if there was any incidents, it was red flagged very early, but more controllable. Like poor Paul Jordan, mind, came off at Waterworks, right? Wrote the Mistral bike, absolutely wrote it off, ripped the headstock. When the bike was one bit, but the headstock bent. Right. But like Paul's I haven't spoken to Paul since, but I saw him in the bar the following night.
Aye.
And he was up on his feet when I rode by, which was the main thing.
Any shout outs to any of the Manx Grand Prix lads? Any like special rides, or who won? They don't do a newcomers race now, do they?
No, they don't, but they have like a newcomers award.
Right.
Which,
who won that? Do you know?
Mate, you've put me totally on the spot there. You're a dick. You're a dick. Obviously, it's
who won the of the Manx lads? Do you know who won them races, or like who did particularly well?
Mate, you've properly put us on the spot here. I've been stitched to an inch of my life. I'll tell you what, put it this way, we're going to figure out, next time we're talking about the Cadwell, I'm going to look and find out who won what. Right, I'm telling you that. But I'll tell you what, this is the problem when I go racing. Mm-hmm. My dad was racing. He's taken 3 years to get back to race around the Isle of Man circuit. 3 years, brand new leg. He's rebuilt the bikes. Like my dad's borderline Dracula with no soul. He just doesn't show emotion half the time. But that's 3 years to get a monkey off his back. And you can imagine when I was watching the junior race, Rossi could have turned up and it wouldn't have mattered to me. And my dad got 10th on the Super Twin. Bearing in mind, he just whipped the cover off it, pulled it out, checked it over, and went off down Bray Hill on the thing. He hasn't ridden it, Chrissy. Doesn't know how to ride a Super Twin, but he got 10th. An absolute animal of a human being. Brilliant. And then he put his, like when he came off the first time he was on the Gilbert Brown 750, I think he was like, I was on for 110 mile an hour. He smashed that. He did 113. Wow. And you just think, just age is just a number, kids. My dad, I'm not going to give you his age, but he's there 60 plus the VAT. But he's that determined as a human being, and he's going to go back and do it. And he'll go back again next year to the Manx, because I know I was almost tearing it apart, and I think that's what we've got to be careful of. Like, I'm not, I mean, people in general who love the sport, we're so easily ready to tear things down. Aye. Especially on the social media things. It's hard, and it's important that we keep things built up. Because it was different, the Manx was a bit quieter. Aye. That is the bottom line of it. We've gone from the buzz of the return of the TT. This event was quiet. Now, the Manx has always been a little bit more quiet. But all in all, it's back at the centenary year. That's the first time I've said that right. Yes. I've been practicing in the van on the way down. Talking in the mirror. But no, so the fact that it's coming back again is brilliant. It's getting more ramped up. And the segregation was considerably not there. And make that sound like quite hostile, but it wasn't. It's like the Class TT and the Manx, and now it's all under one roof. Like everything, that's a new venture. There's improvements to be made, but it's the tip of the iceberg. I think the coverage was far superior. I think everything went a lot more flowing, and it's easy to tear things down. I think it was a brilliant Manx. A lot to improve on, but we can build it up from there. But as far as the racing, it was fantastic. But I tell you what, we must talk about, like, honestly, my heart bleeds to Craig. We've had him on the show. He's a really top-notch fella. And the important thing about this event for him is because he went to the TT after missing it the year prior with smashing his knee off the curb at the Northwest. And he went on the BM. I tell you what, he was just struggling he overrode it. And, like, I was doing the same. And he was just struggling to get his eye in. But I tell you what, on that Alistair Cowan superbike, he passed me. He could have taken the paint off my bike, and he was just absolutely feeling it. He caught, Dave O'Johnson. He flew past him, and he went off 16, and Nathan Harrison was at 15. He caught past Nathan, and he towed Nathan, but then Nathan couldn't keep up with him, and Craig went off. But unfortunately, it blew up on him, which is unfortunate.
So was Craig on for either first or second?
100% he was. Wow. 100%. That would it. Honestly, it was like within a second of each other. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a race, isn't it? Especially on that distance when you got, I think Rob went off at number 9. Number 9, Craig's at 16. They couldn't see each other on the race, but imagine trying to push on that kind of barrier.
Yeah, pit boards plus 1 plus 0 sort of thing, aye.
That's the thing. And I know I had a breakdown, but I went off at number 12, and I saw a P8, but actually I came in. It was actually when I came in and retired. Say, you're up to P6, and you thinking that I was over the moon with that. Mm-hmm. I'm obviously gutted that I couldn't get a finish for the team. But I must mention Richard Wilson. I have never heard a happier man. So you've got Caroline, who's part of the Manx Grand Prix. She's the only woman to win a Manx Grand Prix. Wow. Only woman to win around the mountain course. She's part of the Manx radio team now. Did an absolute awesome job. And I'll tell you what, we need to get Roger Maher. I can't, Alana's uncle.
Yes.
you have never met a man with a drier sense of humour. Honestly, we have to get him on the show. So I don't know how I diverged on that, because them two anyway are married, and Caroline did an awesome job first time in the hot seat, shall we say. And what was my point prior to that? I have no idea. I'm literally just now I'm thinking about Caroline Rogers' wife. This is not going well, Chrissy. Totally. What was I talking about before that?
I'm not too sure, to be honest.
So what was it? Go on, Howie. Too many head concussions.
You were talking about having to retire.
Yes,
but you said special shout out to, and then you went off on
Richard Wilson, and this is why we're a team. Keep it on the track. Richard Wilson, he was on the Rotary Norton, and they have tried so many times to get a finish. You know, like Josh Brooks has ridden for the team as well, like the Wiz Norton team, but he's got a cracking flavour saver. Richard Wilson, the whole family, even his brother works part of the Isle of Man team. You know, the family are so dedicated. And there's Caroline. He went to interview him on the like he finished 10th. It was like he won the MotoGP. And they're like, God, a few words. He goes, I won't be able to not swear. I won't be able to not swear. And he, mate, you could hear everyone actually hugging behind him. And he thought, that is 100% what it's all about. And the attention that thing gone. Like, you know, the Bennett's team were out. Shout out to Bennett.
I've seen a few of the videos he did. They were really good. The like video diary sort of things.
Which is awesome, you know, like, and that's what I was meaning about, like the media attention to it. Like, yes, it was a not as busy year, but like with people like Bennett getting involved and like the whole Isle of Man team, they're really building up. I thought the coverage was good. I haven't seen the ITV stuff yet.
Yeah.
But I think just we need to get like next year, hopefully the BSB calendar doesn't mix, because Davy Todd wasn't there. Connor Cummins wasn't there. I'm trying to think who else out the BS. Dean Harrison wasn't there.
Big misses, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, because like, they definitely, especially Dean, because he's got the lap record, nearly a 128 on the big bike.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And that was like when it was first coming in. So what that Silicon team could have done, Dow Racing, sorry, can't say Silicon anymore. Jeez, it's like calling Tass Tyco BMW. We just can't do it. It's like Voldemort, he shall not be named. So anyway, I wonder if Tyco, anyway. So, mate, I've done it again. It's all this sugar. It's gone straight in my head.
Speaking of sugar, do you know Ash White, who bought my old van?
Yes. Is the van still going?
Yeah, I believe so.
Shut up, man.
His little daughter's got a little business. She goes around at No Limits meetings with
selling ketamine.
With Ket, selling. Do you know the barrels that you take them to get your tires changed and stuff? She fills them up full of packets of sweets, and it's called Track Snacks by Frankie.
Class.
So yeah,
keeping tyres on rims.
Thanks very much. Yeah, that's it. Thanks very much for donating some, and we'll get stuck into them later.
There we go. Right, because No Limits is happening at the moment, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, they're at Cadwell Park.
But right, we'll quickly go through the rest of it. So it's like so that was the Superbike. So we're working backwards from there. Like I say, gutted for Craig Neve. Brian McCormick was back on form. The thing about this is people, say it's just the Manx. It's not. It's racing around the Isle of Man, and all them lads are back. The race, there was like 10 of us all within the same time. Like Michael, he was testing the new bike. He was getting his head round. He had no luck in the 250. Didn't even start. Here, let's go back to it then. 500 classic. John McGuinness didn't even make the start line.
Yeah, he lost a few engines, didn't he?
3. But you know, this is what I found out, right? Guess how much for a cylinder head for a pattern?
About 15 grand.
15 grand on the button. There is no way. That is absolute robbery. Like, the thing is, because classic racing, you know what I mean? It's a niche market, and everyone who think, like, the people who are manufacturing these things, and they just think people who own the bike have got a few quid. 15 grand. 800 quid for a piston. Fucking piston, man. You think, no, they're literally drowning out the sport, and you think that is just disgusting. It's like, fair enough, they've got something that they need, and everyone's out to make a few quid, but that is just disgusting. And then you think, like, there's, like, Jamie Coward, he's absolutely over the moon to get fourth. Like, Ted Wolf was there by himself working on that Norton, and getting, like, gearboxes, stripping this down, swapping this. They actually went out on, like, the slower engine kind of thing, and you thought, my heart bleeds for them, because when you're there, you become very isolated, especially in classics, because you've only got so many things to work with. And that was like the 500. But when we set off for the 500 race, I didn't do a single flying lap, and I was doing just shy of 109s of a stand starting. Like Lee at the time, he was doing 108, nearly 109, so we're both on par, and went off down Bray Hill in the race. First lap, I had a 10-second gap, and Jamie was up in front. went off down the race. I caught Jamie in the first lap, and I'm thinking, I'm on for one here, because Jamie, even with a slower engine, was doing 109s, and I'm going, I can catch him and go for it, because if I get a bit of momentum, I'll be able to have it. Caught up, bottom of the mountain, the sun was directly in my eyes, and I must say a thank you to RST, but we'll go after that. Sun was directly in my eyes, and I saw P2, and at that point, I've caught Lee. I've passed Lee Johnson in the race, not on the road, and then it was Benetti, and both me and Lee were reeling in Benetti like a bad smell, man. We were just absolutely howling. And then we got up in the mountain, it was pulling, and then it just went backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards, and then to the point where I was having to get Jamie to slingshot, and then I couldn't pull away from Jamie, and then he was slingshotting me back, and I actually rang Jamie after the race, because I, unfortunately, going on to the third lap, trying to keep with Jamie, the bike broke down. It just slipped and slipped and slipped and slipped. But I broke down like 11 mile before the rave, and I went, I'm getting to the line. I was absolutely like getting to the pub, even not the line. And I just kept going and going. And I think it was like clutch slip, but the bike started to grade, and I'm absolutely devastated because the Davies lads put all their effort in, but Lee used a couple of engines, but the only spare engine that I had was like my Mark 1 engine that I've been developing the bike with over the last 3 years, and it hadn't a refresh or anything like that, and it was pulling strong and then just started dying a death, really. And I think that's just unfortunate shit luck. So it would have been, you never know in classic racing, never know in racing period, especially on the Isle of Man, but I definitely felt on for a win on that. Definitely felt on for a win, but it wasn't my day. But the good news is that for the Davies lads who have put all that work in, you know, it's you know who I feel like? I'll tell you who I feel like. You know who was the first man on the moon? Here we go. I know the answer, but I'm testing you.
Is it Neil Armstrong?
It's Neil Armstrong. You know what I felt like with the Davies lads?
The second man on the moon.
No, I felt like part of the NASA team who built the rocket, because we've put so much time and effort into it, and Lee's just hopped on, landed on the moon, and off you go. But no, Lee had to get the bike to the end, because there was what I like about Lee is I learned so much about feedback. You know, he is top class, and I've been riding the bike for 3 years. We've had a couple of people on, and for him to hop on and get his opinion on it was fantastic, because we have two different riding styles, because he's fast like I'm still working on it. But putting in the same times, it was like in the ballpark element, and like Lee asked for a few changes which were really positive, and same with me, and it worked really well. But the important thing is that like Lee actually brought it home, and they've worked 15 years to get that senior win. And it's absolutely fantastic. And like Lee put, as much as Lee takes the piss, you know, he's like, oh, it's just classic racing, doesn't do that. He's like any other racer. Lee puts the gum shield in and he rides as hard as he can, and he's not going to change. But did you see that RC45 he was racing?
Yeah, I did, yeah. That
was like cobbled together. If you look on his vlogs, it's like it was proper, because it was like a rule change last minute. Absolutely outstanding. And he was aiming for a 120 lap. It was a fair bit down in the speed traps. He was aiming for a 120, but I think he got over 122, nearly 123. Just shows that he wants to bite the screen and go for it.
Speaking of Lee as well, he's got a real good YouTube channel, so if anyone wants to check it out. And he's also just about finished I think he's finished, but maybe hasn't been published yet. But he's been doing that thing for Bennett's, the restoration thing. And then basically all what you have to do is get you don't have to actually buy an insurance policy through Bennett's. You just have to put your details in and get a quote, and you're in with the chance of winning that bike for free. So I'll get my sister to put a picture on here, but that's all on Lee's YouTube channel, so it might be a chance to win a free bike, so why not, sort of thing.
Can't knock that.
Anything else to round up the Manx week?
Yeah, so like talking about like the 250 element, that, like I say, I'm really sorry for the Manx Grand Prix lads. Like, Barsby got the most professionally turned out privateer bike.
Hey, well
that
done.
Was an outstanding result. He improved on his lap times, and the thing is, it doesn't matter if you're winning or you're not. The Isle of Man is definitely, you just go on there and try and beat yourself. Of course you're trying to beat others, but it's like your lap speed is just that is your...
I'm not sure if you actually even know this, but it's how like mad the two worlds have collided. But I used to swim with Barsby's brother. We used to swim in the same team, like years, like when we were kids. And then like I only know Barsby through you, and then I realised I used to I know his parents really well, and it's like,
well, I met Barsby swimming in the bottom of a pint glass. Just trying to pick his head out. What you doing, son? Class. But like you say, like the two worlds collide. But like Barsby were there, like Hep and Owen was there, like Will Loader was there. Like, I'll tell you who did an
Do
outstanding job.
you feel obliged to give Heffen a
Nah,
shout?
not at all. Not at all.
Keep the family happy.
No. Don't have to. I've banned my family from listening to this podcast, but I'm literally trying to go through names to keep it going. You cheeky. I love it. Yeah, love it. But Grace, edit that. Take the name out.
Class.
But no. So, but I tell you who did an awesome job, and he only just got on a bike. Well, as far as I'm aware, got back on a bike at the Southern. Ryan Neen. He got a 4th place. Brilliant. Which is awesome. You know, yeah, he didn't do the TT, and he's just back. He's putting the time in, and just shows what that. It's just great to be back. You know, and as far as the Manx, I'm trying. I tell you who the junior race. Chris Moore got on the podium. I know that much, but Jamie Williams, who hired the KTS bike. So Kevin, if you are listening, there's a shout out. But he hired the KTS Super Twin that Jamie was riding.
All right.
Mate, I'm absolutely devastated. He was away with it. And then he had a breakdown. I'm absolutely gutted. And then even like going into the senior, like Jamie Williams, I'm trying to think, McConaughey, right? In the senior, he just missed out on the podium by 0.3 of a second. You've done 4 laps of the TT circuit.
Unreal,
and it's like 0.3. And McConaughey was like Northeast lad. You've got to give the lad a shout. He was so close to getting that.
Quick shout out to, I'll just check my phone.
Here we go.
Stephen Smith for winning the senior.
There we are. Thank God. I don't want to upset him. I tell you what, he's lost some weight, mind. No. He was a big, massive scouse, but like massively. He works in MotoGP. Him.
Yeah, he said on his Instagram it says road racer living in Salzburg.
Don't even know where that is. Haven't a clue.
Well, if it's MotoGP, is it not Austria? Maybe
it would be Austria.
KTM?
It must be, but no. But like you say, he won it, and yet again with that Alistair Cowan. I tell you what, one of my favourite things about the Manx Grand Prix, and I really hope I get the opportunity to do this. You know, I've got to work really hard and keep my fingers crossed. But they have like down at the Villa. So normally at the TT they do it in the grand, like near the grandstand, out in the open air. But like they do it in the Villa Marina, and that is absolutely world. Like, because what they do is they put you in like a chariot, and your whole team carries you to this. Wow. Like that, I remember growing up at the Manx, watching this, going, "Oh, that'd be awesome to do one day." And like there's Stephen Smith, and even going back to, let's talk about. We haven't even talked about the lightweight race. So like I say, James Hine was absolutely flying through practice. He just led it from the go. I got I think I was at P2 up to Ramsey. Class. Then I got to P3. Sorry, I dropped to P3 with like a 9-second lead over, it was Locker at the time. So I was in 3rd. And that was like a 1:15 stand start lap from a 1:10 after bedding the pistons in. So just getting to know the bike. Unfortunately, it was only a 2-lap race, which I wouldn't have made it, because guess what happened to me? Another DNF. I was absolutely gutted. But like the second lap,
not a crash, by the way.
Not a crash. No crashes. Yeah. No crashes. Up on my feet, bikes over one bit. That's the main thing. But so got up to second. But the worst thing about that, like, it just started to get the flow of it. You know, it's the 4th time I've ever ridden a 2-stroke at any point, and I was really getting the feel of it. So, mate, it was just grip. So grip.
Really, you kind of. You had mechanical DNFs out of 2 podiums this week, really. Yeah, which in the grand scheme of things, it's annoying, but it's yeah. But at least you back home safely in one piece and fit to fight another day.
That's the thing. But like James Hine was away with in the race, and we were going off like a predicted lap speed off James, and he was like on for just shy of a 120, I believe. He was on 119s, but looking at my prediction on the lap speeds, I would have been just shy of a 119 myself. So like really getting the feel of it, properly getting it, just a little too late. Now the bike broke, but it's one of those things, isn't it? Aye. But no, that promoted. So it went from, I was 2nd place at the time when Mr. Hine broke down, and then that promoted. Then Mike Brown actually won the race, who runs for the Burrows team. And then Ian Locker got promoted up to 3rd. And who was 2nd? Hold on. Mike Brown won it. Locker 3rd. No, Locker 2nd. Who was it? No. Oh my God. He literally bought the bike. Like he got a 30 grand loan to buy this bike. It made a return back to racing. There's people screaming the name, but I will find his name, and if I don't get it in this podcast, I'll get it in the next. But like the way the Manx and like the telly and everything, it was built up. It was fantastic. Imagine reloaning, like remortgaging the house to get this bike just to go live out a dream, and he gets on the podium with it. Absolutely class, and I think this should be the name of the title of the pod. Like, this is what dreams are made of, and that's what racing's about.
Hey, good on him.
100%. But I tell you what, before we move down any further on that side of things, before we move over to the short circuit element, I must thank Zoe from Motor Direct. I tell you, like, and the reason why for that is, what I've discovered is, like, with my eyesight, like, I was working like down Chesterfield, and I put yellow safety glasses on, and it definitely like narrows in the focus. And I thought, this is a little bit too late, if you know what I mean. So this is the day before I'm going out to the Isle of Man, and I rang Zoe out of hours singing. It's like in a desperate rush, thinking, oh God, you know, it's a Friday. She's not going to pick up the phone until Monday. Sure enough, she picks up the phone. How can I help? And she is the most helpful. Like, that whole team in that race department are unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable, because they'll just move heaven and earth to get us ready for a race. And they found me with James at like the RI stall, who like do with services. They found me like a yellow tint and pin locked my race visor to put a yellow tint even in the black.
Class.
And he just went, it got me through it. Like, it massively got me through it. So I cannot. So Zoe, if you are listening, I can't thank you enough.
Aye.
And mint, absolutely mint. So yeah, let's all in all, had a great Manx. Sorry for not getting everyone's names right. I will correct my mistakes for the next pod. 100% I will. But let's move on to your weekend, son, where really I think we've done something wrong recently, because the bad luck didn't really continue, did it?
It was funny after the weekend. We kept missing each other. So when you were ringing me, I was missing it, and then when I was ringing you, you were missing it. So we tried ringing each other about 3 or 4 times, but I think neither of us really
wanted to speak to each other.
both had shockers. But going back a little bit, so I think we briefly spoke about Thruxton on the last podcast, but it was when we had guests, so we didn't really get into it. So I'll just quickly say, down at Thruxton a few weeks ago, having a reasonable good weekend up until race 1. So in qualifying, I managed to get through to Q2 again, which was, I think it was like the third time I've got through, and I got through in, so it's the top 6 that go through, I believe, and I got through in P3, so like comfortably through. Really happy with that. Really happy with my lap times and the sort of ideals. Race 1, coming round first lap into the final chicane, and unfortunately Luke Mossy was off the track at the time, and as he rejoined, I think it was on the rumble strip on the green, crashed, but unfortunately his bike so as I tipped into the right and picked it up on the throttle, his bike just came from the right hand side and just skittled me. Big impact, went right over the top of, I sort of got my right foot trapped, but then fired over the top, landed on my back, smashed my head off the ground. The bike, obviously it took a big impact on the front end. It actually snapped the front spindle in 3 parts, and the front wheel came out of the bike. Big impact, smashed loads of parts.
It's a shame you're not better at starts. You could have got away from it.
Oh yeah, if only. So that night, went round the whole paddock looking for a replacement spindle. It's not a part that you sort of, when you're going through your spares, you know, your spare fairings, your spare handlebars, footrests, you know, you think of all the things. A spindle isn't something that's you sort of think about crash damage, but yeah, it smashed in 3 parts, like I said. So went round trying to find another spindle that fit my wheel and forks. Not one in the whole paddock.
Well, you're the only one in the paddock running that spec forks,
yeah,
aren't you?
And so,
well, obviously, because no one's got any spares.
We're looking to like different ways of making it. It got to about 10 p.m. on the night time, and my electronics guy Simon came up with a plan to machine. So I think we borrowed PR racings, and he needed to machine some parts to alter it, so modify it. So him and my dad drove up all the way to the machine shop up in, is it like Hinckley area?
Hinckley area, yeah. I think they need like a special spot on the show, because the amount of times you've been using them.
We'll get Bob back on sometime soon, but massive shout out to the machine shop. For those that don't know, it's basically like, it ran like a gym, so you can...
Advertisement warning.
Yeah, well, they help me out massively all the time.
I'm joking.
You can basically sign up, it's like so much a month, and you can go, you can learn how to weld, you can learn how to do pretty much anything with tools and and machines. And if you say a club racer, you can go around, put your bike up on a stand. There's loads of other like-minded people there. They've got the music on. It's good crack, and you can basically prep your bike yourself. And there's always someone there on hand to help you, basically to show you how to do anything. Amazing place. So massive shout out to them. And Simon, he got there at I think 1 o'clock in the morning or midnight. Took him about 2 or 3 hours. Drove back through the night, got back to the circuit at like 6 a.m, called my mechanic, and so like Piggy and Stan I think came down and got the bike ready for 10 a.m. warm up. And I've got to say, you were there that night, weren't you? And what was the part we're looking for?
What's Kyle Ride's dad's name?
Sean.
Sean is a gentleman and a scholar that doesn't want to see any rider stuck, and he's a bubble popper. That's what he is, right? I graphed, everyone else was standing around going, we haven't got this part. So there's me part, and everyone like Moses at the Red Sea, and I went, what do we need, Chrissy? I'm your man. I can fix anything.
It was some bracket, wasn't it?
So the front, obviously, because the bike went on the side, like the disc, like people do not understand, like to break a front axle is severe. Like the amount of flex that you need in it. The disc was totally bent in. The caliper ripped off it. There's a photo of you on the side. The caliper's ripped clean off. But part of that damage was when it bent both stanchions, one outer and the other. So the bill, God love you, because obviously you've got to cover your own race damage.
Yeah.
You know that. Don't mean to put salt in the wound here, but Jesus, that's a tasty bill for you, God love you. But part of the damage, or the bottom of the stanchion, you've got like an aluminium bracket that holds just the mudguard. So like, it's not a crucial part, but obviously to keep the mudguard in, you know, for safety and everything like that. It's not like you need an engine mounting on the frame. So there's me looking at the situation, kept the powder dry. I thought, I can fix this. Took myself over to the Tyco hospitality tent, walked in, chatting away, keeping everyone distracted. A bit of the old Darren Brown. Swiped myself a silver stainless steel from Sheffield, silver spoon, cleaned it down, and made the most beautiful bracket ever. Now, obviously, Chrissy's running around the paddock going, like, trying to get all the parts and get through the medical, getting everything sorted. And he came back, and I think what I was presented with was the most dishonourable thing I've ever heard you say to your lips. I think you went, what the fuck's that? I'm like, mate, I've worked. Mate, I got the angle grinder, I put heat on it, I got it all mate, it was absolutely on the button until Sean turns up, who is an unbelievable fabricator, engineer. He just appeared. What a gentleman that man is, Mr. Ride there. He just turned up and it was just fantastic. It fitted beautifully.
Fixed the original, I think, didn't he?
He fixed the original. But, I don't like, he's on my shit list.
Took the wind out of your sails, mate, a little bit.
I'm absolutely good. So anyway,
managed to get the bike sorted, worked all the way through the night, so huge, and I can't express how grateful I am to everyone that helped us to get that sorted. Managed to get out in both races on the Sunday. It was not the results we're looking for. I think the first race I just missed out on the points. There was myself, Brooksy, and I think Takahashi sort of battling for that last point, and I just didn't manage, to. I think I was like 16th, and obviously the last point's 15th, so disappointed, but like sort of in the battle, getting stuck in. Second race, I was really up for it. Got a good start. I was on the back of the main group, and up until about 15 laps in, I was in about. I think I was at 12th, right in the, like the proper group all the way up to about 4th or 5th. And I thought I was doing a great job looking after my tyres. So picking the bike up, not accelerating hard. Especially sort of 12, 13 laps in, I thought this is sort of going perfect. And then all of a sudden I had massive tyre drop off and I just lost huge time. So the last sort of 4 or 5 laps, I just dropped like a stone. So again, missed out on the points, but overall, it's bloody hard going superbike racing as it is, but doing it the sort of as privateers. It's the first time that we as a team have been to Thruxton. You obviously try and set the bike up the best you can in practice and stuff with the limited time that you have, but we did our best, and we just weren't good enough really on the day for points. But
but like the thing is, I'm as the co-host on Chasin the Racin, it's my job to build you up, mate. And I think everyone who's listening to this will agree. You are too modest for what you are achieving is phenomenal, and more importantly, all the commentators. You know, when you like watch that stuff. I woke up early this morning
I know
to watch
that 20 quid that I've slipped with him is the best 20 quid.
Mate, you need to double it. Give the man 40 quid. Even like Steve Day and everyone,
I know.
They do like. People are taking notice of the uphill battle that you're on. You know, and
it is really nice when I listen back to the races because the commentators are sort of overly nice about us. So it's obviously really nice to hear, and I do appreciate it. But yeah,
which is good.
Overall, it was a decent weekend, character building weekend, should I say?
In the boiling heat.
Yeah, but the thing that sort of stands out for me for that weekend was the resilience and the efforts that my team went through to work all the way through the night to get me back out the next day. The bike looked brilliant the next, and yeah, I was really, really proud of them. And then Cadwell Park this weekend just gone. Really looking forward to it. It's probably my favourite track in the country. It's such an amazing place to ride on bank holiday weekend when the grandstands are all packed. That field next to the start finish straight is just packed. Everyone's got horns.
That's got to be the busiest. Like I say, I watched it this morning.
Yeah,
that had to be in the busiest meeting they've had this year.
I think it was record, but I didn't get the crowd attendance statistics, but there was a big old crowd there, and yeah, again, it was a bit of a disaster of a weekend for myself. It was like an extra day of practice because we've got a 3-hour open pit lane on Friday. Got straight down.
4 days on track you've had.
Yeah, got straight down into the 28s, like 28.1 I did on that first night, and that was actually my fastest lap time ever around Cadwell. So I thought that's a good place to start. And then we made some what we thought were positive changes for free practice 1, and I did another 28.1, and then we made some more changes, pushed 28.1 or 28.0, and for like about 3 or 4 sessions we were massively changing the bike, doing quite big things, and it was much better here but losing here, and it sort of balanced out at the same lap time. So it sort of started off well. I felt we sort of plateaued a little bit, and then we made a real breakthrough going into qualifying. So the FP4.
So we've gone from Friday to Saturday at this point. Is that
Saturday, and then into Sunday.
Yes, right.
Made a real breakthrough and dropped down into the 27s. So that we'd been working on that for a while, 27.8, and then went out and qualified on a 26.8. So my sort of target for the weekend really was to get into the 26s. It's funny, I seen just before I left the Isle of Man, the last thing I said to Phil was, gives a target for Cadwell next week, and he sort of went through and said, well, if you get in the 26s, you know, that you're shifting sort of thing. Lap record was a 26.3, so 26.8, 20th on the grid. You know, you're like,
holy shit. And
for people, you know Cadwell Park, and like, on a big bike, you know, for people that say
I've got a classic lap record.
Yeah, for people that do like say track days or do club racing, if you would sort of win a club, like a normal club race, you'd sort of win it on like a 29 or 30, that sort of thing. And you feel like when you're doing say like a 30 around Cadwell Park, you think there's not much more, like you feel you're pushing. And then to do like, once you get 28, you feel like you know there's not a great deal. 27s, 26s is like just so you're using every inch of the thing. You're like proper pushing.
It's interesting because like Whitton was talking about that. It's like a lot of tracks where you need to let it flow and let it come to you, kind of thing.
Definitely.
And Cadwell, he said what his I'm just regurgitating what he said on Eurosport Fresh this morning, but he was on about Cadwell is one of the few tracks that you have to dig in. And is that you just clarifying that, and the fact of like you just have to, for a 26, it is totally balls out on the shelf going, they are my balls, let's go for it.
So the Super Bowl thing worked brilliantly. Really enjoyed watching that as a spectator, and a few people dropped down in the 25s, like 25.9s.
Jesus.
Last year Vickers did 25.8, so that was the unofficial fastest lap. And then
that seemed unstoppable. Like that,
yep.
You know, 20.
Skinner did 25.7, Jackson did 25.7, and then Bradley Ray came round. He didn't even do a good first half of the lap, and then absolutely obliterated the lap record. The fastest, the last half of the lap must have just been incredible, and he did a 25.4, which is just mind blowing, like how good that is. So over the whole weekend. Race 1, I crashed out of down the hill. What's it called? Mansfield.
You're turning into me here. You forget.
Braking into the left downhill, got right over the curb, and just as I touched the gas, the front washed out and crashed there. And then second race I didn't have a good run. It was just didn't really have the pace, and I finished like 20th or 21st or something. And then the third race, there was a battle from, I think it was about 11th downwards. So there was Vickers, Kent, I think it was about 4 of them, Stacey, and I was in that group, and just off the back of that group, and crashed at the bottom of the mountain on the left hand side. So similar crash where I sort of got in on the brakes, leant over, and then just as I touched the gas, front washed out. So sort of back to the drawing board for us. Not the weekend that I was kind of not the weekend anybody would hope for, but it's so difficult racing at this level, and it's when you're not quite comfortable and things aren't quite 100% right. It is difficult, but did our best, and we'll go back to the drawing board and back out next weekend now at Snedden, which I'm really looking forward to.
Dom's stupid question of the pod.
Yeah, go for it.
Obviously expected to be hard, but how hard, pushing wise, on your skill on a motorcycle skill level, how hard is it?
Superbikes in general?
I mean, did you expect it to be this hard?
Good question. I would say yes.
Which is a fair comment.
Yeah. I know how hard it is, and I know how good the best riders and the best teams are. It's still impressive to actually see it in the flesh. But yeah, I would say it's kind of. It is kind of what I expected. I would say.
No, just like that absolute push element. It's a bit like, let's use like Dean Harrison for an example. I think that lad is a bit, he's got the team, he's got the budget to get that done, but I think the man's dedication is fantastic. I think he's going faster and faster and faster, and he's just
Dean's riding's coming on so much. Yeah, really, really good, very impressive, and going from, bear in mind he hasn't came through the ranks as a youngster doing all of the lower classes. He's kind of like a true sort of road racer that's then came to BSB to do some practice, and it is real paying off.
Peter Hickman started superbike racing at 17. There you are.
Crazy,
you know what I mean? There's another man who just shows age. Dean is far from far from old, but he's like you say, in the terms of racing world, he is, for like you say, his BSB experience, but like I say, he's just digging in and he's going for it.
It is obviously a lot of the teams have a lot of experience in that class, and so the sort of but in terms of data and settings and stuff, the kind of at the beginning of the weekend, FP1, they know where they're at, and they're working on things. So obviously there's and there's some sort of manufacturers and some bikes that seem to click at certain tracks, and you look at the likes of, obviously Danny Buchan had a fantastic weekend this weekend, but then there's other rounds this year where you'll be sort of battling for 10th, 11th, and then he turns up at Cadwell Park and's like a world beater. You look at the likes of Sykes and Brooksy, two world-class riders on top bike, top team,
not in the showdown, nowhere near it.
Both not at the showdown. It's very, very, very competitive. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Amazing. I wouldn't say an honor, but it's an amazing experience to be involved. And to actually, anyone can sort of watch it on TV, but to actually be on the grid and to be in the middle of the pack going through, and being with people you've watched on TV for years and sort of being part of it, it's an incredible experience.
100%. I couldn't agree more, and I think it's I was
just going to say, speaking about how difficult it is and how hard it is, the school I went to, the school I went to as a student and also I trained at, it's called the Manual Schools Foundation, and their
Juvie for short.
Their motto is do hard things, and there's not a truer word sort of phrase for life, and the harder things that you do in life, the biggest weight that you take on your shoulders, there's something like rewarding about it.
Train hard, fight easy. In a way, in that kind of breath. But I tell you what, you've hit the nail on the head, and like that was a point I want to say before I forget it. Is we're talking about like Dean Harrison coming into it a little bit late. Like the other side of that, we're talking about how he's still very early on in racing years, compared to Charlie Nesbitt. Like he's the exact opposite of that. He's been racing at top level, like in every field he's been in, since he was 12. Not even 12. Sorry, like 4-year-old. Like pit bikes all the way through. And did you see that stock race on that Gixxer?
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
20-year-old.
Came on, got his first podium at Thruxton, rode really, really well, intelligent race, and just seems to have clicked with that big bike. He actually did the Superbike test on the Friday.
Right.
So he's out on the Superbike for the first time, which I think he really enjoyed. And then, what he did on the super stock bike was just absolutely tremendous. So I take my hat off to him. And it's funny as well, because it's easy to look at that class, and it's like, for example, now Hondas are sort of dominating the class, and it's very easy to think, oh, you've got to be on a Honda. And then when, like, say, BMW
everyone is doing that, aren't they?
When BMW, or when Tim was winning on the Yamaha, it's like the Yamaha's so good and whatever, but you can't knock what Nesbitt did, because that bike it's been the same for years and years and years. And even like the lap records that Coops has done on it from like 4 or 5 years ago, still all mega. The lap records now are mega competitive. So yeah, hats off to Charlie. And I remember my first ever time on the tarmac. I remember Charlie as a proper little kid, and
but we had him. First time I met him was down at the flat track. When he was down there. But it was mad. Like even my maths taught off. He's 20-year-old, and he said he's been on a motorcycle since he was 2. He's got photos of him, his dad putting him on a bike at 2-year-old. Like the burn in the head kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you think,
I remember him as a proper little kid.
We have to get him on the show.
Yeah.
I wonder what he'd be like, because every time
Ace.
No, I'd be interested, because at the flat track thing, he was like, his crack is he's got a proper good sense of humour in him, and
he's a lovely lad.
He's fantastic. We're gonna have to get him on. The problem is he's all the way down at the bottom end of Wales, and we're not travelling that far, Chrissy. Diesel's capped at £2 a litre now. We can only go so far.
Yeah. I will get we'll get him on. Right,
we need to talk about the fact that racing's taken such a big jump, pardon the pun, but why all of a sudden are people sacrificing height on the Cadwell jump to Bubba Scrubs? They're not even, mate, Jackson, like obviously Dan Jones.
Yeah, shout out to Dan
My
Jones. My
God, like the fight, what is it, just a collarbone?
Yes.
Was it just like it was airlifted off, God love him, and then he was like the way it was presented, but when it was like live on the telly, it was just, and you thought, holy like the way on the mountain, blind crest. And that's a good thing about Lee Jackson. He was like, look, he made a mistake, and it was just a racing incident. He's just tried to jump the mountain. He hasn't done anything particularly stupid, far from it. It's just gone up, caught him out. But the photos, he's literally like that far off the floor at like Mach 10. It looks like a Bubba Scrub. Yeah. And for the people who don't know what that is, it's a motocross term for like scrubbing speed over a jump. Google it, you will be impressed. And then
and also Brooksy had a similar one over the mountain as well. So yeah, but both really lucky to sort of walk away from those ones.
But like you say, when Brooksy did it, he was that committed into the Bubba Scrub. God love him. It just kicked him out. The back slid away from him. That could have gone so wrong. That. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but obviously we've got that records. Another one for the OMG Yamaha team. We've got Charlie Nesbitt setting it on the Suzuki. What about Jack Kennedy? World class yet again. Did he win all the?
You're gonna try and return the favour and give me a reel.
I am. Who won?
Stuff me.
Who won the stock 600?
Stock 600. I don't know.
Like cheap shots all around here, Chrissy.
Oh no, Max Cook.
Oh, you're a bit. Show me your phone. Show me your phone right now. You have.
Yeah, you did. He will have.
I was about to say, Cadwell jump. I'm starting to write notes. I'm taking the job seriously.
Do you want us to go through Patreon questions?
Hold on. Before we go with that, Piggy's like, hold on. I don't even know how to say this. Piggy was walking up through the paddock at Cadwell Park, and a lad collapsed. And obviously Piggy got the paramedic and stuff, and hopefully that lad's all right. Let's keep Piggy's out there. He's
saving lives.
He's like a midget Batman. He's like saving. But seriously, if that gentleman's like, hopefully he's all right.
Yeah, sending our best wishes.
Jesus wept. Yeah. So hold on, and obviously, because Piggy was telling me the crack. He'd like to put a formal complaint against MSV. There was no bar at Cadwell. The bar shut early.
Right.
So, you know, I think...
To be fair, that was my fault for keeping them out of the bar all weekend.
Right, I think, oh God, you better be careful. You better be careful. And I'll tell you what, before we move on, I'm unfortunately, I think next weekend when you're at Snetterton, I was going to be at the Mid-Antrim, sorry. It's the Ulster Championship. And I'm currently leading that 4 points ahead of Adam McLean. But unfortunately, I can't get a bike and I can't make it out there. So I am good. I am absolutely good. But it was nice to lead the championship while I had it in the 600. So we'll have to go back next year and have a proper crack at it. So there we go. What else? Yeah, go for it.
Into the Patreon questions. Ty Kinton, Chrissy, how did you find having Dan as your crew chief? Who would be your dream crew chief? Dom, was your highlight of the Manx TT? So first one, I've had Dan Linfoot working for us for the last 2 rounds, so brought him in as a crew chief. He's actually going back to racing Superstock for the rest of the season, so best of luck to Dan with that.
What's he on?
He's on a Honda.
Hold on. Oh, bollocks to it. He's put it all over social media. But even Craig Neve's gone to a Honda. Jamie Cower's gone to a Honda. Like you say, it's turning into the Honda Cup, this.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumours about 1, 2, 3 top big superbike teams also changing manufacturer Honda next year as well. So, and there's already the official Honda team and tag Honda. So I think there's a lot of sort of movements that way. Honda, if you look at Superstock,
Honda makes sense.
Most of the top 6 are Honda now. So yeah, they've since.
Because who's leading that? Is it the Todd leading that now?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. Todd will be somewhere near. Braden Elliott's been up there. Billy McConnell. Tim Neve has been, but obviously after his...
It is so good to see him back. You know, people, like, you know, it's amazing how quickly as a species, being the human species, we move on. You know what I mean? People forget. That lad's got a fixator brace in his pelvis. And he's racing motorcycles. The lad is like the T1000 Terminator. He's unreal.
Yeah, fair play. But yeah, it's been really, really good having Dan. Really interested. Obviously, he's got a lot of experience as a racer, none as a crew chief. But it's obviously all of his years of racing for the factory Honda. He's raced all around the world, loads of different bikes, loads of different teams. So just sort of... basically, I'm like a sponge, really, just trying to sponge as much information off him as I can, and like in terms of setting the bike up and setting the weekend out. So yeah, really, and I'm sure that's maybe something that he'll be interested in pursuing later on in his career after he's finished racing himself. It could potentially be a sort of another career for him. So yeah, it was.
Well, after he saw me spoon trick, he's employing me as head engineer.
Yeah, so. Dream crew chief. That's a good one. I think Frankie Cardecci's got to be up there.
Have you got a crew chief for the rest of the year?
I've got Mark Hanna back at Snetterton. Yeah, I'll say Mark Hanna because I'm
smooth talking.
In all fairness, Mark's came in a few times this year to help us, and I absolutely love working with him. We'll need to get him on the show at some point because he's got a brilliant history. But he's just he's a leader. And that's sort of what you need sometimes in a garage. And I love working with him myself. I think I'm very jealous that Craig has him full time. Sam Higginson, Dom, which bike at the Manx was the most fun to ride? What's next on the agenda? That's a great question.
If I had the money and there was more parts of it, I would. That GP bike Honda 250 was unbelievable. They're just such a different class of motorcycle. You have to be tucked in. It was beautiful. Like, I've never ridden a bike with more grip. There was literally no hinge in it. You know, there was no feel, bar grip. And you just thought you're riding this thing, and you just I just wish I had 1,000 laps on it. Mm-hmm. You know, like I say, it just showed even that predicted lap speed. You know, we were just knocking on the door of like nearly a 119 on the second lap. It's just, when you forget about it, it just shows that you need to love the place and love your bike to go fast around the Isle of Man. Yeah. Because like, I know I keep referring it to, but like James Hind, you know, he's very disciplined on the bikes, and it works for him. And you think, if unfortunately Bruce Anstey wasn't there because he's banging out over 120 laps, and that just shows when you fall in love with the place, you go fast.
Class, yeah.
But 100% that is my favourite bike.
Next question is very much linked. So Andy Graham asking about did you enjoy riding the lightweight race, which obviously a massive yes.
That number one was unreal. No one caught me, by the way.
Did they not?
I had a 40-second gap to second on the road. 40 seconds. I went at that. I've done something that, like, John McGuinness is one of my racing heroes, without a doubt. And, like, going down at road number, I'd love to do it at the TT, especially after what I've learned from there. But when you go race around the Isle of Man, you know, if you've got a 10-second gap, you aim in the main at Braddon, you know, you come down to the bottom hill, you see him at Braddon, you've had a good start. Because obviously I've told you everything about starts. Yeah. But going down, you think, right, and then you're just getting that rabbit, you know, chase the rabbit, chase the rabbit, chase the rabbit. And, like, but if you don't see anyone, it's that psychological break. You think, shit, I've lost them. I've lost my toe. And then you're, like, kind of waiting for the next person. You're like, I feel defeated at that point. I went off down at number 1 going, right, when someone passed me, just learn. That went right out the window. I rolled up at number 1 and it was just an adrenaline drop from the second I got the tap on the shoulder to the second I was breaking down. It was just go all the way. It was just, do not let anyone catch you. And you just, the heightened sense of just pushing all that time was a little bit different to when you've got someone in front of you. Your brain takes a step back. You just boom, boom, boom. You just catch. And then you forget about what you've been doing. But that adrenaline drop was unbelievably different. And loved every second of it. And unfortunately, I didn't finish the race, but to start the race at number 1 has been, like, ever since I was a little girl, it's been a fantastic job.
Peter Thompson, do you boys have any inside scoop or silly season rumours as to who is going where next year, both in BSB and the roads? What's the rumour mill in the paddock, and have either of you had any chats with anyone? Cheers, Pete. In terms of chats with anyone, that's a no from me. Not too sure sort of what I'll be doing next year. In terms of rumours for next year,
I've heard not. It's everything's been. I tell you what, I'm not going to drop the name, and people will be like, "Boo!" But I got offered an absolute awesome ride, but I have to take 15 grand to the table.
15,
1-5
for what class?
600. You're not getting any more money out of me. More money. I can't even afford my eyebrows, never mind 15 grand.
Is this for road racing?
Yeah, in a bit of British. Only building up to the TT.
That's well, if you think like that's one event's like,
but then I have to put tyres and fuel on it as well.
All right, okay.
So that's not like now. I knew where you were going with that. You're thinking that would actually work out unbelievable, but no, it's no. I would love to take the ride, but I can't. I haven't got the brass. Lovely fella, but I really, really, really love to work with him, but I just don't have the brass. Do not have the brass.
And big bike wise, what's your plans for next?
No, I'm employable. I'm a lovable rogue.
Class.
I feel like I ran over a dog that, you know, like just let's take him in and nurse them better and then never leaves. That's me. Class. But no, I'm 100% employable.
In terms of
100%, without a doubt. Any more hints, Chrissy, just throw them my way. But I am employable.
In terms of rumour mills, honestly, I kind of think of. I know a few teams that are looking to potentially go Honda, but aside from that, in terms of riders, I'll have to do some homework at the next round and I'll come back to you on that one, Peter. So next one, Tony Rolls. No question for me this week, but just wanted to say I was gutted for yourself and Dom. You both deserved much better last week. Can you also give a shout out to new Patreon member, my big brother, David Rolls? So massive thanks to Tony and also big brother David. Appreciate the support and thanks for the kind words. Jess Mortimer, Dom, how were your first laps back on the island? As obviously the last time wasn't the best. Chrissy, what do you think that was missing at Cadwell? It seemed a really hard weekend. Did the fact that you crashed the last time you were there, I presume that was just out of the mind, or did you?
No, it was right. You know, there's no point. You know, it was 100% in my mind. It was 100% in my mind. You know, it's just like you get to it. You know, I got to Glen Helen, and it was just like go for it. It was just dig in. And I just went flying round it. Then after, I love every corner but the Nook and Governor's Dip. They are just crap. Traditional, but crap. And like every other corner, I absolutely love them. But going round there was just like, you know, take a deep breath, go through it. And then you just feel like you've jumped that hurdle. You know, you've climbed that mountain, even in that brief second. But I tell you what, it's a proper heartfelt moment. Like, and I'm very, very, very lucky that I get to share these moments with my dad. Because like I say, a 3-year gap, over the moon. Because he came in and both sitting there like my mum and dad's caravan. Like, you know, I'm lucky that Bob Henderson was over there and like the Davies lot and John Chapman. But I was very lucky that the Herbertson camp was still just there. And like came in, I said to my dad, and I went, how did the mountain box go? He just smiled. He went, aye, hit it hard. He gets out of Glen Ellen go. I went, I'm not going to lie to you. I shit myself. My dagons eye, so did I. And it was just like, we just laughed about it. It's like, I get to share those moments with my dad. And it was like, right, we just got over it. And then you just dig in and you forget about it. And you move on and you just fall in love with the place again. So it was important for me to do it. So there you go.
In terms of what was missing at Cadwell, as usual, like, dug in and did my best. I felt we're kind of searching for something with the bike all weekend, which I don't feel we got, but it wasn't for a lack of trying. Like, we tried so much, but yeah, it's difficult to sort of get that feeling with a bike, and we're sort of searching for it all weekend really. So yeah, just say a little bit off, but at that level, when you're just a tiny bit off, it sort of amplifies. CJ Pep, who's top of your wish list as a guest for the podcast? Favourite spot to vacation holidays besides the Isle of Man? Cheers, boys. Hope you're both doing well. Favourite spot for holiday? To be honest, I never really get a chance for holidays, to be honest. We're just that busy with work, podcast. In terms of favourite location, there's millions of places I'd love to go, but I'm not really... I don't have like a go-to like favourite place really. I'd absolutely love to get away skiing over the off season at some point, but whether we do or not.
You could do that in a car park.
You can get up to Scotland. Look,
it's a sign of a psychopathic trait, laughing at your own jokes,
It is. In terms of wish list for the podcast, nobody's really on. Not for me. Like, there's nobody that. There's people we're sort of chasing down that we haven't had yet, but
Clyde Paget, if you are listening to this, you are the elusive character of this show.
There's a lot. There's a few in that sort of category, but in terms of, I guess everyone would say Valentino Rossi really, but aside from that,
Marquez is back. He's back on a bike, so we need to get it. Why don't we just drive Italy, son? Screw it.
Yeah,
just stuff it. We'll just get in the van and we'll go over.
David Rolls, same as Tony Rolls, says absolutely gutted for the pair of you last weekend, and thanks for recently signing up to our patrons. Could you say patron scheme or just Patreon, whatever?
We need more. Come on.
Andy Wellborn, hi guys, love the podcast. Just a quickie, as the Scarborough Gold Cup races are back on this year after lots of hard work by the whole management team and volunteers, are we going to see Dom there giving it big licks? And if so, on what bikes? Hope to catch Chrissy and Piggy on the bank mingling with the spectators as before. I'm actually not able to. I would love to be at Scarborough this year, but unfortunately, I'm down in London commentating on the Baldo 24-hour that weekend. Right. So I'm afraid I can't actually make it this year, which regrettably. What about yourself?
I'm not going. I've got my own reasons. That's nothing against Scarborough or anything like that. Fran's still going, which is absolutely fantastic. He's got another rider lined up, and we'll get that close at the time. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to give the riding a rest for the rest of the season and just build up and get faster and stronger for next year. That is the plan. So unfortunately, like yourself, gutted I'm not there. But I'm going to have to duck, dive and weave on that one.
Yeah, class. And just to say, massive thanks, massive well done to Andy Wendy and the whole of the club down at Scarborough for all the efforts going on behind the scenes. Great people, and obviously the only sort of true road race in England.
Dave Neal's commentating.
Fantastic.
There you are. So if you fancy a different soulful voice there with a microphone.
Yeah. Phil Naylor, sorry. Any update on the merch? It's in
we have half price cushions because Chrissy's changed the brand.
Yeah. We no updates at the moment, but we are working on it behind the scenes. Dom, any tips for a newcomer at Oliver's Mount by Andrew Jones?
Turn left at Mia, keep turning left, a bit more left and a bit more left. But no, it's like, especially road racing in general, just take your time, build into it, no pressure. That is so easier said than done, because I think every person would have said the exact same thing. But just take a deep breath. You will not learn it at your first year. Guarantee you. You know what I mean? So just get that out your head. Just go out and just dig in and just build into it.
We've got Tumu. So, hello lads, hope you're all good. Is there any chance you pair might race the same class in the near future? And how do you think you'd fare in each other's worlds, road/BSB? Theoretically, of course. All the best. Well, you've
You know
done
what?
you've
know
done
what?
a little bit of BSB, haven't you?
Nah,
I've never done any road races.
No, but it's... You know what's mad? It's like, you know, the pit biking thing. I've always had a bit more experience on the pit bike compared to you when you've hopped on. Then the flat track, you've done a little bit more than me in a neutral world. It's interesting, isn't it? What's your thoughts? I'm looking at you going, "Oh, spank y'all hour, Herbertson, spank y'all hour."
It's more. I think the question's more.
Oh
if
no,
you,
like
either
swap
you did
disciplines.
superbike or I did road racing. Like, how would we both get on? So, like,
You
how
would
you
you would excel at roads. You would. But it's like everything want and need. You know what I mean? I don't think
you'd have to want to do it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think that's like, you know, I feel like we should be sponsored by the book Bounce, but you know, that myth for talent, it's like climatization, can't even get my words out, but in a certain environment, you know, and once replaced by need and skill and talent, you know, you've got to want to do it. But your skill set that you've developed from British and running, like what we were talking about at the beginning of this pod, is how you've upped your level. And like, you know, you've got to train hard to fight easy. And I think if you approach that to the Northwest or the TD, there is no doubt in my mind that you wouldn't be an exception to those before you, like the Hislops, the Hillwoods, you know, like David Jeffries. I can't. No. But I'm talking about your skill level on a motorcycle. Then you adopted it to road racing.
Yeah, that's like likening Titus Bramble to Pele and Maradona. Like,
okay, I'm rounding things off, Christopher.
Yeah,
Jesus, I'm trying to big my mate up here, and he's just chucking me under the bus.
In terms of
Chris Palmer, I must mention Chris Palmer before we leave this show.
Go on.
I owe him so much because, like, the thing is, like, the Davies team did such a good job of, like, you know, getting me some guidance and stuff like that. But Chris Palmer was actually taking his time out the show, he was stopping the show, and he could immediately identify that I had zero, like, well, I had 3 times prior 2-stroke experience, and he actually took the time to come over and like show us and teach us, and like he'd be like mid interview, and he'd be like, he'd just go right over to you, Chris, and then like you come over and go, no, you want to get warm, try this and try that, and you're like, Chris Park, we're definitely getting him on. I think that's probably why he was doing it, to get on the show. But we definitely need to get Chris Palmer on the show, because like the stories that man's got. But I cannot thank him enough. I really can't. So I'm so glad I got that in. So sorry, Chrissy. Carry on with the patrons.
Yeah, no problem. Last one, Keith. Hi, Chrissy. Good to see you and the team. Sunday, thanks for the great hospitality. Myself and my lad Tom had a great day. Sorry it wasn't the best of weekends for you, pal. Onwards and upwards. So yeah, great to see Keith, and thanks for the message. That sort of rounds everything off for this week. Obviously, at myself, I'm at Snetterden with the team next weekend for the next round of the BSB, and Snetterden is the last round before the showdown, so we're into the last 4 rounds of the season. Really looking forward to it. Have you got anything to wrap things up?
No, thank you very much to everyone. Yet again, I think it's just more work to be done, Chrissy. We're going for it, and then, like you say, you've got a very, very busy, because you're like back to back and from there to there to there to there. So, but no, we'll keep the pods coming. We'll keep them flowing in, and that's always good crack, son.
Yeah.
But thank you for chucking me under the bus yet again. And hold on, before, like I promise, just do a bit of a gap filler there, Chrissy. Oh, here we go. Typical. The lad who won it is a Italian fella. F. Curringham on the pattern S1R won the junior. And that was a hell of a lap speed at a 1:16. He banged in there. Chris Moore, who we mentioned on the 250, he came second, and M. Colvin. I'm so sorry I don't know the M. Colvin there. That was the junior. Stephen Smith, followed by Dan Ingham this is the senior, and followed by Jamie Williams. It was, like I say, it was 0.4 over the line. That is so close. And then Victor Lopez in 5th for the Spanish contention there. So it's got it in. That was the Manx Grand Prix there. But like I say, please go check them out on social media. Like the vlogs that they've done, their updates. It's definitely the tip of the iceberg. And like even if you follow Paul Phillips on, he's really pushing it on that side of things, and it's always good. So if you need a link into that, go have a look on Paul's Instagram, Twitter even. He's got the links up, and very, very, very positive.
just to wrap things up as well, I've got a message from Dave Baum, who made the Chasing the Championship film, and we get quite a few messages.
Film?
We get quite a
You
few
never mention it.
messages from people from outside the UK and I think America, Ireland, Australia, various places, asking where to see it, because for some reason it doesn't work on Amazon Prime. So just to give... So it's now available on Vimeo On Demand, which is a new option for anyone in Ireland or anywhere outside the UK and USA. It can also be watched via Apple TV with the Vimeo app or on laptop mobile. It's also being picked up by quite a big streaming service in Australia, hopefully from November. And So yeah, if anyone's outside the UK and wants to watch it, check it out there. Massive thank you to all of our sponsors, and obviously big thanks to Colchester Kawasaki. I'm actually down that way tomorrow. We're down at the Cop Dock Motorcycle Show. Obviously it'll already been on by the time I'm here. By the time this goes out. And huge thank you to all of our patrons. Look forward to catching up again very soon, and take care.
Awesome. Thank you very much, mate. See you in a bit. See you, everyone.
Chasin the Racin, powered by Colchester Kawasaki. Part of the Global Moto Group, we supply new Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, Sim, Mutt and Benelli motorcycles.